Elizabeth. There is nothing delightful about plans that have to change, right? Maybe you intended to attend a wedding, but your COVID test came back positive. Boy, we've lived through those years, right? Maybe you wanted to visit a loved one, but their work schedule changed, and now they're busy all weekend. Story of my life. Maybe you're going to make your parents, your mom's treasured macaroni and cheese, because that's the one meal my mom loves outside of Mexican food. But cheese is just too expensive this year to make it a featured side. Maybe you planned to attend a play, but your back pain flared up. We all make plans, don't we? It's how we organize our days, our budgets, our relationships, our lives. And yet, sometimes those plans get canceled by circumstances completely outside of our control. And I know for me that can feel awful, especially when it was something I was really, really looking forward to. Some of us know that feeling so well that there's now maybe a little voice in our gut that whispers, don't get your hopes up. It'll probably never happen. I know for me, when that happens, I start protecting my heart by not letting myself feel excitement about the future sometimes. The writer of James speaks directly into that tension, I believe, between our longing to plan and our lack of control. In James 4, it reads, "Come now, you who say, today or tomorrow, we will go to such and such a town and spend a year there doing business and making money, yet you do not even know what tomorrow will bring. What is your life? For you are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. Instead, you ought to say, if the Lord wishes, we will live and do this or that." Some of us have heard the phrasing from elders, especially black elders, especially folks with deep Southern roots, say, if the Lord wills it, right? Right. God willing, right? If the Lord sees fit. To me, this is not superstition, these phrases. It's a theology, I believe, of humility born out of real life. Black Americans, migrants, people in general who know that anything can happen. Economic downturns, racism, sickness, war, deportations, violence, and yet they still, and we still, dare to hope. Still there to sketch out a future, but with an open hand. If the Lord wills, for me, doesn't mean we never plan. It means we refuse to confuse our plans with what I call God's guarantee. It means we hold our schedules and our expectations gently, because we know life is fragile. A mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes. because we know we are not in control of everything, right? Or maybe you do feel you are in control of everything. That's all right too. Matthew's gospel echoes the same theme of uncertainty, but with a more urgent tone. Jesus says, "But about that day and hour no one knows, neither the angels of heaven nor the Son, but only the Father." No one knows when that day is coming. The text refers back to the days of Noah, when people were eating and drinking, marrying and giving in marriage, right up until the flood came and swept them away. The point, at least on the surface for me, is don't be caught off guard, stay awake, be ready. Many of us were taught to read this as a threat, maybe. If you grew up or taught, like I was, with certain evangelical books or movies like myself, you might even feel your body tightening when you hear phrases like one will be taken and one will be left. Though there was a whole industry built around that fear. You're familiar with the Left Behind series, right? And all of its cousins, designed to convince us that at any moment, people would suddenly disappear and the rest of us would be stuck in some kind of divine horror movie. Anyone seen those films? They're horrible. But a lot of us, like myself, are still healing from that theology. Many people are. The trauma that has come from that, it's real for many. In Matthew's image, people are eating, drinking, marrying, working in the fields, grinding meal. That is ordinary life. That's community life. Nobody grinds grain just for themselves. Nobody tills the fields only for their own table. These are shared tasks for me. And Ecclesiastes chapter 9 gives us a different angle on that everyday life. It says, "Go, eat your bread with enjoyment and drink your wine with a merry heart, for God has long ago approved what you do. Let your garments always be white. Do not let oil be lacking on your head. Enjoy life with your partner whom you love all the days of your vain life that are given you under the sun." Ecclesiastes says, eat, drink, enjoy, love. God approves. The problem in Matthew isn't that people were enjoying their lives. I believe the problem is that they were living as if their decisions had no consequences, as if there was no moral or communal dimension to their choices, as if nothing larger than their own plans was happening. So the question becomes less, what if I'm caught going to brunch when Jesus returns? And more, I know for me, how am I living in relation to my neighbors, especially the most vulnerable, if that day, and quote, that day were today? Matthew's language of people being taken and left, I know could haunt many people these days. It could haunt us. The idea that someone could be snatched away from the field, from the kitchen, from the ordinary tasks of life, this is terrifying, isn't it? Very terrifying. But we don't actually have to imagine it as some mystical future scenario, do we? Because in the United States of America, people are being taken every single day. People are taken by ICE, ripped away from families, schools, workplaces, and congregations. We know this. People are taken by a broken healthcare system, and by that vague phrase, underlying conditions. What we politely call supply chain issues is in part the result of critical workers and their families getting sick, suffering long-term disability. People are taken by gun violence, by police violence, by domestic violence. These aren't abstract sign of the times, is it? These are our neighbors all around us. So when we hear Jesus talk about people being taken, we can ask, who are we strangely comfortable seeing disappear? Who's allowed to vanish from our neighborhoods, our pews, our schools without us mobilizing? Whose absence moves us to action? And whose absences gets explained away as normal, inevitable, or the cost of just doing business? All people want to be safe. I think we could agree. All people deserve to be safe, right? Part of safety is in being able to plan your daily life without constant fear that those plans will be violently interrupted. Many women and queer and trans folks choose not to take public transit at certain hours. Many people of color turn around at gas stations when they see Confederate flags or what's the other flag? Trump flags flying around. People plan their routes, their clothing, their schedules with safety in mind, because experience has taught them that any moment could be that day. So the Advent question isn't just, are you personally ready for Jesus to beam you up? The Advent for me this year is, are we building a world where more and more people can safely make plans, safely enjoy life, safely love and be loved? Another challenge in these apocalyptic texts is how quickly they get twisted into a cosmic naughty list theology. I know I have been taught explicitly and implicitly that God is basically Santa with more weapons, watching our every move, writing down our mistakes, getting ready to drop the hammer. Jesus' urgent calls to stay awake isn't meant to trap us in fear by any means. It's an invitation to wake up to reality. The reality of God's nearness, the reality of our neighbors' suffering, the reality that what we do with this one fragile life matters. So how do we hold all of this together, beloved community? On the one hand, James reminds us, you are a mist, you do not know what tomorrow will bring. On the other hand, Ecclesiastes tells us, eat your bread with enjoyment, Drink your wine with a merry heart. Enjoy life with the one you love. And yet, another hand, Matthew says, no one knows the day or the hour, therefore keep awake. So here are a few suggestions to bring all this together. You ready? All right. We plan, but we plan with open hands. We make calendars, we book tickets, we imagine futures, but we practice saying with humility and with wisdom, if the Lord wills, if the Spirit allows, if the community is safe, not as a superstition, but as a way of remembering we are not God. Second, we delight in life, even now. This is important for me. We don't postpone joy by any means, church. We just don't. We don't postpone joy until the world is perfect. We're not doing that. Because if that's the standard, we'll never celebrate anything, right? We let ourselves enjoy the meals we have every month together as a potluck. The music, the laughter, the tender moments of love and friendship. And we stay awake to who is left out of that joy at the same time. It's not about one or the other, church. We could hold everything together. We stay awake, my final point, to who can safely plan and who cannot. Advent watchfulness, for me, is not just gazing at the sky, waiting for Jesus to parachute in. Advent watchfulness is paying attention to who cannot safely take the train, the bus, who is afraid to open the door, who is one traffic stop away from deportation, who is forced to work while sick. It's asking what would it take for them to be able to say, if the Lord wills, I'll be there, with genuine hope and not just fear. So maybe Advent watchfulness looks like this: reaching out to a neighbor, co-worker, church member who you know is living in a constant state of uncertainty because of illness, immigration status, race, gender identity, housing insecurity, and just saying, I see you, I'm with you. What do you need? Supporting movements and policies that reduce harm, things like rent protections, sanctuary commitments, expanded health care, public transit safety measures. And the last one, being honest about our own limits and fragility. Letting others in when your plans have been shattered instead of pretending you are just fine. Amen? Because we all need each other. We really do. And maybe alongside all that, Advent watchfulness means giving yourself permission to enjoy what is good right now. Amen? The candlelight on the wreath, the sound of a child laughing, a song that makes you cry in the best way, a simple meal shared with someone who loves you. Not because the world is fixed, but because joy is one of the ways God keeps us alive and resilient while we keep working. Beloved community, none of us knows the exact shape of tomorrow. Our lives are missed, our plans are fragile. But for me, the good news is this: God is not fragile, God is not missed. God is not going anywhere. The God who shows up in a vulnerable baby at Advent is the same God who shows up in canceled plans, in deportation defense campaigns, in hospital rooms, and protest lines, in kitchen tables where someone lights a candle and says, if the Lord wills, we'll get through this together. So maybe our Advent prayer this year is simple. Not, God, make sure my plans never change, but God, be with me when they do. Not, God, tell me the exact day and hour, but God, keep me awake to love, awake to justice, awake to my neighbor, awake to joy. Maybe we be a people who plan with humility, who live with courage, who fight for one another's safety, and who, even in the uncertainty, dare to enjoy the gifts of this one wild, tender, holy life we have. Amen. The floor is yours.